Michael D. Frankie. D is for door knocking pre-foreclosures. Michael, what is the difference between pre-foreclosures and foreclosure?
A pre-foreclosure is a house that's behind on payments, but it has not gotten to the auction yet. So in previous videos, we talked about the timeline until a foreclosure. It's a pre-foreclosure until it hits that foreclosure auction. After that foreclosure auction happens at the courthouse steps, then it turns into a foreclosure.
Okay, so let's say it's a month. Do you guys have a specific date in your auction?
We have auctions pretty much daily.
Okay, so do we, but in Texas you don't. I think it's like the second or third Tuesday of every month inside of Texas. So Texas, like you guys have a massive day of a lot of foreclosures happening the same day. So let's say it's a Monday and the foreclosure auction is set at 11:51 a.m. A seller has been ignoring you. You and your team have reached out on when the NOD list was posted. You guys call it a what? Appointment?
An appointment lead.
Okay, when you get the appointment lead, you have all this time frame. You've been reaching out to the seller. The seller's been ghosting you, but then they reach out to you Monday at 9 a.m. and saying, hey, Michael, I'm getting foreclosed on in 2 hours and 51 minutes. I've been ignoring all 116 attempts of yours and your team. I need help. I imagine it's too late. What is your answer?
There's obviously a lot of ninja things you can do, and it takes some skill to get these foreclosure sales stopped. But the reality is that if they wait until this long, more than likely it's going to end up foreclosing. But I know you and I have stopped stuff right at the last second.
Okay, so you can stop it right at the last second. Couple of things I would do. Michael will make some dedicated videos on how to stop foreclosures on his channel. Also, my wife Laura has stopped live foreclosures inside of our community, inside of the Sub 2 community. She calls. It takes a lot of work. It's tough. Sometimes with that little time frame, the challenging thing is getting a hold of the bank and the trustee to get approval. And so can it happen?
It absolutely can.
Okay. Now, I would say that there's a couple of things that you can do. Michael will talk about these in greater length on his other channel. Number one, you can pause or extend the foreclosure by calling the loss mitigation department, okay? This can sometimes take 12 minutes or 12 hours depending on how many people that are in the queue for you to talk to somebody who's a decision maker. And sometimes you have to talk to 2 or 3 different people. My wife was just talking to somebody the other day. She calls up, she goes, hey, Laura, I called the trustee and I called the bank and I couldn't get a hold of anybody in the loss mitigation department. And Laura's like, you got to call like 15 times all the time. So if you're going this route, you probably have a 60% chance on the final day of stopping or extending the foreclosure. Another way to do it is, some people will tell me not to talk about this. Come at me, bro. A lot of times the sellers have an option. If they file bankruptcy the day of their auction or before that, it will extend it, stop it, push it back. What will it do?
So it stops the sale, and then depending on your state, it might be 30, 60, 120 days until that property would loop through the foreclosure process again.
I'm not telling you to go tell your seller to do this. I'm just telling you that when we are communicating with sellers, the sellers will say stuff like, what are our options? And we'll say, well, option one is I get somebody on the phone and desperately try and stop or pause the foreclosure. A lot of times I will run down to the trustee's office. I have personally ran down to the trustee's office. You guys probably see, Eric, you remember that seller? Oh my gosh. I wasn't even wearing any underwear when this happened. Okay, Aaron Green in the Sub 2 community has a foreclosure lead here locally. He had been doing all of this, reaching out to the seller. The day or the night before, the seller reaches back out to Aaron Green and says, okay, please help me extend the foreclosure. Aaron Green sends me a text message. He goes, Pace, I know you don't get involved in these things, but I need somebody to take the seller down to the trustee. The trustee says if you bring the seller down and you bring the arrears right now and you catch up the arrears, they'll extend or stop the foreclosure. And I'm like, bro, I'm not even in my underwear right now. And I have no time to like change. I need to run. I had to drive 45 minutes, get the seller, drive him to the trustee. We got to figure it out with like 6 freaking minutes to spare. And we recorded this. You can also do this with bankruptcy. Am I telling the seller to go and file bankruptcy? No. But I have before. And I'm not telling you to do that. I'm telling you I have done that and it does work, and I suggest you don't do it. Don't tell the seller to file bankruptcy. You are not an attorney. You don't want to do that. But I'm just letting you know I have done it. Okay? In private quarters, when nobody on YouTube's watching me, I might potentially maybe give you a different answer. Okay? So bankruptcy is another one. Anything else I can do you can think of?
Guys, at the end of the day, we've talked about in all of these videos why these sellers go with us, and it's our persistence throughout the process. And this is the time where we cannot give up. Pace talks about extending the foreclosures by calling loss mitigation. I don't know how many times I have called with an hour, 2 hours left, and you get someone on the phone that's incompetent. You know they are. It drives you crazy. Okay, do not waste any more time. I will politely end the conversation, hang up. You keep calling. Eventually, you're going to get that lady or man that's worked there for 30 years, right? And they'll say a whole different thing than what the person before said. Oh, wow, I actually care about people. I'll help them out. Let me escalate this to the top level. That's the person you're going to want to find. Pace said that Laura calls 10, 15 people. You do what it takes to get these people the...
What you're saying, Michael, is let's say that it's me, right? Here's you, Michael, D, Frankie, okay? Michael D, door knocking Frankie, makes a phone call to the 1-800 number that's on the whatever. I get a hold of the first person. You're telling me that just because this person says no or sounds like they have no clue what loss mitigation is or foreclosure, I shouldn't just give up?
Guys, they're going to say on the phone whatever their handbook for the lender says. They're going to say, well, it takes at least 5 business days to get a reinstatement. There's no way to stop the sale. You cannot take no for an answer. You're trying to save the seller's livelihood, okay? So you politely hang up. You obviously don't want to tick off the people at the lender. Hang up. Call again. It's a call center. You're going to get all kinds of different people.
And you're going to call this 800 number. First person here is going to say no. Second person, what would you plan on? Them saying no too?
Yeah, they're going to say no as well.
Okay, third person,
you might start getting somewhere, but it's going to take potentially 5, 10, 15 calls.
Perfect. So you get a hold of somebody that finally has been there 30 years and they care. And then what they do is they go, yeah, I can help you. And they give you to the decision maker, the DM, baby, the decision maker. What are you doing typically in that situation? Michael will make a more in-depth video on that on his channel, but let's talk about this right now. Let's say I can't stop the foreclosure, right? Let's say that the seller, I have had this too, okay? I had a seller, this is back when we were running our door knocking team. I had Matthew was my partner at the time, Matthew Beard. He was running our door knocking team, and we had a seller literally the day before right here in this go zone, okay? They're like, running the bases. They're rounding third base, heading to foreclosure plate. They're about to lose their home to foreclosure. And we said, well, you've got 2 options. We can help you pause and extend as long as we get under contract. We're not going to help you pause and extend if we're not under contract. Or you guys can go in and file bankruptcy, but I'm not giving you that advice. That's what we always would do. Guess what the seller did?
What did they do?
They let the house go. They just said, it's not worth our time. We don't want to go through more of this. We're just sick with the house. And we could not get them under contract. They just let the house go. And they honestly didn't believe that the house was going to go to foreclosure. My team was all butthurt about it. Matt was butthurt about it. He's like, oh, this sucks. I go, no, it doesn't. Here's why it doesn't suck, okay? What we did is we started using this house as a story with other pre-foreclosure sellers saying, hey, this is what happens when you think, okay? And we went to the house. Our state, you get like 5 to 10 days to get out of the house. The sheriff will come in and pull all your stuff out. So what we did is I had my team go and take photos of, and guys, this sounds brutal and savage, but sometimes this is what sellers need to see in these situations. So what we did is we took a before photo and an after photo of the house. The before photo was before the sheriff pulled all their stuff out of the house and yanked it out onto the yard, the constable. The next one was after, and there's a pile of stuff. And I go, this is before the foreclosure, the day I could have saved the seller. Here's 5 days after. This is what's going to happen if we do not make a decision, because this is real. Have you ever had anything like that? A seller just lets it go to foreclosure?
Absolutely. People are in disbelief. They think that what the lender's doing is illegal. They're going to sue them. They're going to do all these things, and it's never going to happen to them. Guys, as the trusted advisor, we've talked about that in other videos, at some point when it gets close, you kind of have to change your tone and be hard on them. You got to give some tough love and be like, look, we've been fighting with you this whole time on getting this foreclosure sale stopped. You wait till the last second. This is exactly what's going to happen. I love Pace's idea on having visual evidence of this is exactly what is going to happen. You can say, look, your options are, I can help you get it extended. You can go file bankruptcy on your own accord, or you can sign an agreement with me. I can get it stopped, and then you can have a peaceful process to find your next home or whatever the process may be, or you can have the risk of whoever buys that thing at the foreclosure sale and you're going to be kicked out of your home in a few weeks. What sounds better to you?
Right. Okay, so let's say that they actually get foreclosed on. Bank comes in, trustee comes in, somebody, an investor, buys this house at 11:51 a.m. They become the new owner. What are the options for us at this point? Can we redeem this?
So depending on the state, yeah, they have redemption rights. Like for where I'm from, the Kansas side, like I told you in a previous video, wild, wild west. It's a year-long party of interesting in terms of redemption rights. Missouri side, no redemption rights. Okay.
Arizona, same thing. We don't have any redemption rights unless your HOA foreclosed on you or you are foreclosed on from state taxes. If you're foreclosed on one of those things, but the trustee taking the house back for the bank, zero redemption. There's nothing they can do about it.
Yes.
Okay, so what does that now become is this becomes, okay, so that's a sheriff's sale. It's different. The redemption stuff is a sheriff's sale. This is now what we call an REO. Well, not REO. What is an REO? This is very important for people to know. An REO, what's the acronym for this? Is real estate owned, which means the bank went to sell this on the auction. Nobody bought it for the reserve price, and the bank actually ends up taking the house back and putting it in their portfolio, which they do not want. They end up hiring a real estate agent to go list these properties and get them turned around and put them back on the market. So sometimes you'll hear about REO agents, or you'll hear agents that'll brag about like, oh yeah, I had an REO account for a really long time. It's like, wow, bro, that's really, really good. That's the bank taking all these houses back. They don't want the houses back. And then hiring these agents, an outside party, to clean up the houses, put them back on the market. Now, this is also what we would call a foreclosure. Okay, they are actually foreclosed on. They are done, no redemption, house cannot be owned. A lot of these sellers, you will run into them, they will believe, well, I'll just buy it on the auction, or I won't buy it on the auction. What I'll do is I'll buy it from the investor, or I'll keep renting it from the investor that buys the house. Have you ever had anybody say that to you?
People will come up with any excuse to not work with you. And this is why it's so important in those last few days to set the stage on every possible situation and just call their BS. It's like, look, you think you know what you're talking about, but you're sitting in front of the person that knows more about foreclosures than anyone in this market. Here is exactly what is going to happen if you don't act right now.
Okay, so is there a time where we cannot help the seller any longer? Yeah, the answer is right here. When the house gets foreclosed on, done. It's gone. Now, do you buy on auction?
I have tried to buy at auction, but there's so many hedge funds down there that I can't afford the prices that they pay. Okay, so same thing in our market in Arizona. We have something really interesting. We have bidding services. Do you guys have those? I'm not aware of those.
Okay, so this is how bad it is at the auction here, okay? What happened is back during the big auction days years and years ago, back in like 2008, 9, 10, 11, 12, so many hedge funds were in Phoenix, Arizona, Invitation Homes, Blackstone, all these companies, Colony Homes. They were all down at the auction, just bidding against each other. And there was a couple of really smart dudes. They said, you know what we should do is we should create a coalition of bidding services and make it so nobody can bid at the auction without going through us. So we have 5 to 7 bidding services in the state of Arizona, privately owned, that basically, it's the mafia. They are the mafia. They make it so everybody pays $2,500 to even let you make a bid at a public auction. These are private people that block you from making a bid at the public auction. Pace, they can't block me. I can go to a public auction. Yeah, you think so? They are so good at manipulating you to the point where you're out there on the auction step. All 5 of them will manipulate you into a house you do not want. They will bid you up to the point where you think it's actually a good deal. You're like, oh my gosh, these guys are bidding like crazy on this house. I'm going to keep bidding. And then they all, once you get bid to a certain point, they all pull back and they're like, good luck with that freaking house. They've been doing that for years. So we have a bidding service like coalition or mafia, I should call it, here in Arizona. No regular human being is going down to the auction.
Yep.
It's not happening. So the best chance for you is get them before the auction date. Is there a point, let's say the seller calls you, Michael, at 11:50 a.m. They got a minute to spare. Anything I can do?
At 11:50, you're probably toast.
You're toast. Okay, you are toast. So hopefully this helps you. I think what Michael's going to do, I'm telling this to Austin right now, Michael's going to make a video on his channel talking about the 5 options that he gives to the seller before all of this happens, so that he's building rapport and giving those 5 options. I've filmed 8 videos or 9 videos with Michael, and I haven't fed him today, guys. I've given him 1 Fresca. He needs some replenishment, so we're going to let him go. And we'll see you guys in an extension of this series. I'll be in Kansas City for that extension, and I hope that Michael takes me door knocking in his hometown market. I don't want a door knocking in Kansas. I want a door knock in Missouri.
Okay, we can do it.
All right, brother. Thank you.
Thank you for having me.
Guys, go over to Michael D. Frankie's YouTube channel. D is for door knocking, and we'll see you guys in the next video.